Well, welcome everybody to, I think it's our first webinar of the year. So before we get started, I'm going to go over some announcements. I just wanted to let you all know that the TNGIC conference is next week, so please come to that. We will be there. We'll have a booth there. There's going to be a lot of great presentations and way more people there than at the Magic Conference, so we're hoping you'll join us there. Our next board meeting is going to be on April 25th at the Benjamin Hooks Library from 2 to 3 p.m. And without further ado, I'm going to go over the webinar details. So today we are going to hear from Andrew McDonagh and Leah Fuller. Andrew is a GIS specialist who received his master's in Geographic Information Science from the University of Redlands, California in 2017, and his BS in Parks, Recreation, and Tourism with a minor in Forestry from the University of Vermont in 2013. With Tennessee State Parks, Andrew works with his team to take ideas proposed by a variety of park staff to fruition, backing and educating park management with data pulled from GIS. Andrew loves where his mapping work takes him daily and how he can learn about the world through maps, travel, and photography. Leah Fuller is a GIS specialist who received her master's in Earth System Science from the University of Alabama in Huntsville in 2019, and her bachelor's of Science in Environmental Science from Auburn University in 2017. She recently came to the Tennessee State Parks from Tennessee Comptroller of the Treasury, where she specialized in cadastral mapping. Leah is passionate about environmental conservation and outdoor recreation. In her free time, you can find her hiking and fly fishing with her husband and dog in the greater Chattanooga area. So with that, I will let you guys take over.
Awesome. Thanks for having us all here today. So yeah, I'm Andrew and Leah. So we work for Tennessee State Parks. We're the GIS team, the two of us. We also help out with the Division of Natural Areas, the Historical Commission, Division of Archaeology, Marketing, Facilities, pretty much anyone within our department on our side of TDEC. We're not with the environment or radiology, water resources, things like that. But anything recreation or kind of species related we get involved in, which is pretty fun. For the last year, Leah and I have been working together. She started in last February. So in this time, we've probably put together about 8 different experience websites. And they're a lot of fun. She and I are not experts in this, which is why I think it's good for you guys to hear from people who are not experts for once to see like how you can do this with very little knowledge and kind of just learn as you go. GIS has a lot of button pushing, and you guys are all experts at that and figuring out the right keystrokes to get where you want to go. So today we'll show you a whole bunch of different things and get into the little details, kind of progress from least complicated to most. And I hope you guys enjoy it. We'll leave some time for questions at the end. But first, I'll show you just a little bit about the different ones we're going to be covering. So today we're going to go through each one of these, and I'll have Leah give me a thumbs up if she sees that we're looking at the thumbnails on our screen. All right. So yeah, each of these different experience pages. So what is an experience page? If you've never heard of ArcGIS Experience Builder, it's kind of the newer, more future version of what they're doing with a lot of their technology. It lets you build a website basically, and without having any web design experience or coding, you can get into coding with this. But it really is great at showing how to get your different GIS products all in one location. So if you've ever done a project for the people in your group or the public, and you've had to create a survey and give them a link, and then a dashboard with another link, and then a page of info and send documents, Experience Builder lets you put it all in one place. You can make a scrolling website, a multi-page website, and you can have your GIS content linked. So where other website designers aren't really great for GIS, Esri's Experience Builder is exactly perfect for it. So yeah, I'll dive in a little bit and show you a couple examples, and then we'll go into the nitty-gritty of how it's built. So I'll show you just what one of them looks like real quick. So if you're on Facebook, there's a chance you might have seen this get dropped live last night. This is the Tennessee Historic Commission's Cemetery Viewer. It's a web map on one side and a survey 123 on the left side, all under one website, one website URL. So in the time that it's dropped, they've had like 640 shares of this website thing. So it's a good way to get stuff out to the public. And just like your regular GIS content, it has the same sharing settings. You can make stuff private or to groups, to people in your organization, or to the public. And you just want to enable the content on each of them together. And so with this example, we wanted to be able to show cemetery sites. They come up as little dots. There's 30,000 of these maps here. And if it turns out that you don't have one of the cemeteries that's in your backyard is not on here yet, you put a survey 123 on the same page so that you can enter that and submit it. There's a review process where someone gets to change the review field from yes to no in order for it to show up on this map. It doesn't happen automatically, but the idea is both of these are in one place. So that's really cool. I think with that, I'll show you the monthly tracker, and you'll be able to see what that looks like. So you get to build a lot of this using your same ArcGIS content. It would be located under apps and experience builder if you've made the experience for this. So I'll open that up and show you. It'll bring you to an editor, or you can just view it. But I'll have Leah talk through what this one is before we dive into how this thing is built.
Yeah, so this is an internal site for Tennessee State Parks that allows our staff to report visitation and occupancy statistics, and also visualize data trends over time and compare themselves to other parks in our system. Historically, these contacts at all 57 of our parks were emailing one lady at central office, and she was manually typing those figures into an Excel sheet, and the parks were never seeing that data again. So this is kind of like our first step to our future goal of automation. A lot of systems are used for cabin reservations, our new lodges, camping, and also our visitation trackers. So our goal is to automate this into one platform where our staff don't have to pull those numbers. You'll see that we have lots of links at the bottom to external pages. Those are those systems I'm talking about that we hopefully want to pull in automatically. But this page lets the staff now report using a survey 123. So if Andrew clicks that report here button, it's going to open up another page. This is a multi-page experience. And we have an embedded survey 123, and they can report their statistics there. And then the historic data button at the top will send them to an embedded dashboard on another page. And so this is a cool representation of that data that they are collecting. They can see statistics over time. They can look at trends between parks. What's really awesome is the notebook on the right. So a lot of times we just see numbers and we don't really have any context on if they're high or low, but now we know, oh, at Standing Stone, our cabins are being restored. That's why our occupancy is low. So this is a great leadership tool too. So it's not only field staff that can view this, but also leadership in Nashville use this as well to make decisions. And yes, there's also an export table. So if those people do want to use Excel for their own studies, they can export it directly from this dashboard.
Awesome. Yeah. So this is your first glimpse of what a multi-page experience is. These three are different pages at the top that are all under one URL that you can send somebody. And then at the bottom, these are links that go outside of this. And so you're probably wondering, okay, you're talking about Experience Builder, but what the heck is it? How do you build it? One thing to note is that if you're familiar with Web App Builder, they recently announced that they're going to be kind of sunsetting that in 2025. And that's kind of stinks for everyone who's made web apps. It doesn't mean you're going to be broken by then, but it might be good to start thinking about how can I make that same thing using Experience Builder, and why would I want to do that? Well, for every reason that they're sunsetting something, there's usually a good reason why they're bringing on something new. It works a little bit better. It is integrated with more things, and it has a lot more opportunities. And I'm not trying to drink the Kool-Aid on this, but I do think it's really cool. So to start building your own first experience, you're going to go to the ArcGIS Experience Builder, and it comes as part of your package. If you have dashboards and web app builder, you also have this. It'll show you the ones that you've built so far, things that you're working on. And just like anything else, you can have lots of drafts. You can see view counts, how many people are using it, and all that. So when you go to create a new one, though, this is what's really sweet. So if you're already used to using Web App Builder, they've made a bunch of templates that look just like it. So when you start them, you won't really even notice that you're not in Web App Builder anymore. They just have these. But any of these templates will tell you, do you want to do a blank full screen, kind of like the historic dashboard is? And that is one thing that's tricky with dashboards, is you're trying to fit as many widgets as possible into the size of one screen. And I found that limiting before. I'm like, how can I get this even smaller and put more things, do stacked pages in dashboards? And I've been kind of limited. And that's why they have blank scrolling screens here too. I think they have like a good 30 or so different templates. The new ones are all really cool. Full screen, dashboard centric, dashboards that are map centric, dashboards that aren't, ones that are multi-pages. And it's usually good to start somewhere. Pick something that you're familiar with using these rather than starting from scratch. Before we got into it, is also good to play from scratch too, to get to learn how to use these things. So if I was to start this, I'm going to start a blank one just because I don't want to confuse everybody with all the different things you can do. I'm going to do a blank scrolling one. And at first, it's a little bit, the system is definitely overwhelming because there's so much customization. I would say definitely don't start playing with your colors and fonts and stuff until the very, very end, or you'll spend hours in here because every little thing can be customized. When we were looking at Leah's monthly tracker, even the rounding on every single button, and if you highlight it, it changes to a different color. Does it turn to bold? Does it turn to underline when you hover over things? There's all sorts of settings there. But on the side, you have the ability to add widgets. So that's really similar to dashboards in Web App Builder. And you can add multiple pages. It's really easy to just click and add a page, and then you're dragging and dropping widgets onto there. So if you're going to make something that's really map centric, so maybe it's that cemeteries viewer, they have a whole bunch of different widgets that you can bring onto here. The one thing I will say that I don't know much about it, but I do know that like if you have ArcGIS Enterprise versus non-enterprise, sometimes there's different widgets available to you. But there's some really cool things, elevation profiles, utility network traces, business analysts, things that I have not gotten into at all because me and Leah are just trying to do very basic things. But the ability to print out the screen, add bookmarks, and draw, those are all really cool. You have data-centric things too, which is awesome. Kind of think of like a web app editor. If you wanted to drag on a table, you put it on here and there's a blank table. Maybe we want to be able to do a chart. You can put it here, and you're not limited to different sizing and stuff. You can bring things down, make this a never-ending scrolling website if you like. If I was going to do this, you have to first link to some data. So by selecting data, I can look for stuff within that I've already added to this. You can add data over here, or you can search within your organization. And you'll see everything that you have access to through ArcGIS Online. So again, it's like very ArcGIS Online centric. You can still access things the same way, but you can pull in scenes, layers, URLs, all that stuff. There's utilities. You can change the theme of it and make your own custom theme as well. I'm not going to go too much further because I want to show you a couple more examples before you are like, okay, how much do I have to customize? So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and turn it over to Leah.
All right, you should be able to see my screen now. See if I can move this a little over. There we go. Awesome. All right, so this is another internal site, very similar to our monthly visitation tracker, but this time we're working with the Go Green With Us initiative, which is at all of our parks where we encourage our park staff, our facilities, and our visitors to participate in sustainable practices like recycling and other things. So again, at each park, they have a Go Green With Us contact. And there has never been kind of a central site where they can access resources. So that's kind of what this site started as. As you'll see, we have lots of linked out resources for them, including all of their newsletters, and then any kind of like media posts or graphics that they might need around their parks, they can access them here. What's really awesome is that if I click this, this is just a PDF that we can store in ArcGIS online. So it kind of gives them a place to store things too. That's not as complicated as maybe SharePoint or something like that. What's awesome about this website is it has tabs. So it's also a multi-page experience, which if I click here, this is going to take me to a survey 123 where they can report those recycling numbers. That again, historically, were just emailed and entered into an Excel sheet. So now parks can go in here. It's a easy workflow to tell them how much recycling they have submitted. It will calculate the pounds based on the dimensions of their dumpsters and containers. And then if you go back home, again, they were never seeing this data once they submitted it. So now we have a dashboard very similar to the other one where they can look at their data trends over time and also compare themselves to each other. We also have a competition for Go Green With Us. So this is kind of cool to see where you're in the standing. If I open this in the Experience Builder, I just want to show you that these tabs, a lot of people ask how to do tabs. If I click on one, you'll see that it's literally just a button that I made it look like a tab. So you kind of have to get creative with formatting. And I just rounded the corners. You'll see down here, that's an option. So it kind of looks more like a tab. Again, like Andrew said, you can use these hover advanced settings. So when you like hover over it, you'll see a different color. And then if I go to the other page that the tab links to, it'll take a bit to load, but you'll see this is just an embedded survey. So if I want to click the plus to insert a widget under data centric, you have the option to embed a survey, which will literally just give you a list of all of your survey 123s, and you can choose which one to embed. And then same thing for the dashboard. This is just an embedded URL. So if I click on this, you can access this through, let's see, it's called embed under page elements. And then it's literally just a URL to that dashboard I made. So it's super simple to plug and chug. Okay, let's go move on to the next one. All right, I'll let Andrew take this one away.
Okay, I'm going to have Leah drive. So this was the first experience I made when I was least experienced, and it came out terribly. And that's probably why I've never seen it shared around. At the time, I was not confident in building charts and linking data and stuff. I had already gone through the effort and made 3 different dashboards that was talking about the economic impact of our state parks over 3 years. We really wanted to hone in on like COVID-19 impacts. Did it cause more visitation or not? And I got too excited with Experience Builder, and I was like, okay, first thing we need on the first page is a giant 3D scene. So if Leah scrolls down, that's the first thing that opens. Most computers crash when they're trying to open this right off the bat. So I definitely don't recommend using scenes unless you have to. You can always just take a still picture of that, but you can embed them, and they're really cool and fun to maneuver around on. You can even like interact with it as you're there. So Leah could go on, she doesn't have to do this in front of me, but she could add snow effects and rain and show what's going on there and pull up these pop-ups. So yes, you could do a 3D scene. Do you need to? I don't know. I guess that I'll leave that for you guys to find out. Okay, so she heads up a little bit. What I did is I embedded 4 different dashboards on a multi-page experience site. I put my buttons on the left side that would take you to different places. But on this page, on the home page, what's really interesting is see the text, how it looks really, really wonky and there's a lot of spacing. I didn't even know how to do text boxes in Experience Builder at first. So I designed, this is a dashboard right here, this blue section. And that's why things are really weird. So if she were to zoom in and out, you might get to see the different stats there, but they are not working well. They're not optimized. And if you've ever had issues with dashboards, I have, when you have different screen sizes, different zooming, doesn't always respond well. But Experience Builder, you can dial in on that a little bit. You can set things to take up a percentage, so they will shrink down and expand with the page instead of being like pixel oriented, like 10 pixels from the left. So let's head on to the big picture and comparisons. So this is another example. What you're seeing, everything from fiscal year 2021 above is part of the header that we created for the experience. Everything below that there's a dark outline box is a dashboard that I embedded, which is really cool. I just made the dashboard and stretched and packed in as much as I could on Dashboard Builder, and then made the scrolling page where I expanded it out. So if we were to open this in a dashboard, everything would be clumped together. Don't recommend this strategy. I think the way to go now would be to build charts and stuff using Experience Builder. So I'm showing you a little bit about things you might not want to do. If you head to the comparison tab page, you'll also notice that I've put 3 dashboards in here, and you have to filter out every page you go to. So that's kind of frustrating. So whether you want to look at-risk counties or distressed, it's the same filters on all 3 pages. So there are ways to set up a single filter on one page. Maybe the better thing to do would be keep the map at the bottom and keep everything on one page and just swap out this middle section through a bunch of different charts. Those are things that you can do. So if your mind's being blown a little bit about what you can do, that's great. It takes a little bit of learning to figure out why you do this. All right, I think that's it on this. I just wanted to show you guys what not to do. Still looks pretty. I will say that you can use your organization's custom themes, your logos and stuff really easily. And another great thing is it's good at embedding photos and text. So that's always been kind of tricky, but Experience Builder is really good with that. All right, I'll steal the screen back over and we'll dive into the experience a little bit. Okay, when we last left off, we were trying to build our first experience. What I'm going to show you real quick in about like 3 minutes is how to make a multi-page experience with a survey and a dashboard on it. So I've added this content. Now what do? I want to get rid of it. So if you just hover over it, there'll be a trash barrel. You can send things away, or you can move it to a pending page. I would do your research on what the benefits of using a pending page on. It's like sticking it and saving it for later to be used somewhere else. I'm going to make 3 pages real quick. And that's a really cool thing. You see how it's giving me the option to. So my first page could just be a home screen with a picture. The next page could be a jewelry box, or maybe it's going to be a dashboard monitor or a scrolling web map. I'm going to stick with blank for all 3 of these just to make it simple for us. And it's nice because you get to rename these at any point. And you can set the home page to be a different page. What that means is when you put your header and your ribbon someplace, it'll allow you to set that up. So on the home page, I just want to add some text. So this is not something data centric, so I'm going to minimize that. And I'm going to minimize the map centric stuff because I just want really basic text elements. So I'm going to put that on here. And up at top, I'm going to say demo for magic. Let's make it bold. Let's make it a lot bigger. And then you can scroll and make these, pick however you want to display these. So when you're doing content like this, you'll have tons of options like I talked about. Yes, you might center it. You'll notice that I was able to drag to different different spacings. When you highlight this, I don't know if you guys can see it super well, but it's kind of broken into like 10 different segments across. So it will snap to these different ones. You can turn that on and off too. The size right now, it's doing stretch, or you can do different things to keep the ratios differently. I'm gonna turn this back off. Let's do custom. So right now the height is 63 pixels. I'm gonna make this 100 or 200 so I got room. If you don't know how big your pixels are, that's okay. You don't necessarily need to know that. But what would be more important is like, I want this to take up a certain amount of space on my screen. So instead of pixels, I might change it to percent. So I want it to stay at the top 10% of my screen. Or in this case, I kind of messed up in that I'm altering the text. What you might actually want to do is insert a row in which you're going to be sticking all of this stuff on. Let's see. So you have rows, which is kind of where you put your items. It makes it a little easier to control, and that gives you like a border that you can add. You can also add single columns, so that's like vertical oriented. All of these just take a little bit getting used to. When do you use a placeholder? When do you use a grid or sidebars? If you've used dashboards before, you can still use the sidebar tool, which lets you put something on the side. Maybe it's an image that you want to be able to expand and collapse, or just an information, or like a warning. It's like, this is intended for so-and-so. One thing that's really cool is right now I'm in the editing mode, but if I want to start interacting with my stuff, I can change it to live view. And that way I can scroll up and down and see how it worked for myself. It doesn't really help until we get to multi-pages. So for the survey 1, 2, 3, like Leah said before, you can embed a survey 1, 2, 3. And let's see where that was. I think it was under data centric. Just drag and drop and you're ready to go. So even right here, you can start and create a new survey while you're in Experience Builder. So that's pretty cool. You can select other surveys. Let's see. I think it's the second one. Does that make sense, Leah?
Yep, that's it.
Okay. And insert. Look at that, it's there and ready to go. And now I have the options to position it however I want, which is really, really fun. Because sometimes if you're opening this on your phone, it's not always good to have it be long and scrolling like that. Maybe you do want to be able to have a full-size element. Next, I'm going to add work on that last page, which is the dashboard. And this one, I'm going to use the embed tool, the embed widget. Let's see. All right, so you can use a URL. So let's see. I believe, but I'm not positive, so I might mess this one up, but we need the dashboard, so. Give me just a second. So you can look through your content and find things that are just dashboards to pull those in. I like to use the different item types, as I'm sure you guys are familiar with, in order to kind of trim down on what I'm looking for. And I can't recall if I'm supposed to use this link or the view link, but I will try it out and let you guys see what the experimenting looks like in real time. Okay, so here's my URL. What's going to happen? Is it going to work? Perfect. We got lucky, so that's great. You'll pull in that view URL, and then you just get to resize. So I want this to be about the same width, take up this much room. But once again, you could have made your dashboard from scratch in Experience Builder. You could be using charts and text. You could have a notes thing that would just be like a list widget. And that would also work for you. If I want to interact with this right now, that's great. I have 3 pages, but there's no way for me to get back to those other pages because I haven't made those buttons in those routings. So that's something that you add. Once you're in live mode, you can't add widgets, but you can interact with your dashboard and stuff. So you get to see how it's going to feel and play for someone. One thing I'm going to get to a little bit later, which is probably one of the best things about Experience Builder, is mobile version, or maybe it's a tablet version. So you have a preview mode in which you can see how it's going to look like in a different browser. So when you embed a dashboard, it gets tricky because it's going to be trying to smush those elements together. If I go to the phone viewer, it gets really sticky. So with Experience Builder though, however, you can build a mobile version in which you're moving those charts and elements around and might reorder. I'll show you that on one of our last demos of when you might want to do that. But it's just something to think about. Do you need to build it in dashboard? Maybe you're more comfortable there, but think about like the final use. Are you going to have people using it on a mobile version? If so, Experience Builder is a great reason to be using that. All right, so that's my last one for a second. I'm going to go to show you another experience that we made. So this is Seven Islands State Park's big project they want to do called Habitat Management. Basically, it's a two-page experience. One that they're calling the dashboard. Basically, it has a list on the side, filters, and a map, very similar to what you might do with a dashboard. The second page is a web map and a Survey 123 form. One of the coolest things that's come out of Experience Builder, it might have been available before this, but I use it in Experience Builder, and that's really great, is that you can link the data between a web map and a Survey 123, connect that data together. So if you look here, there's no unit selected or type or acreage. But let's say the park manager wants to prescribe a new treatment. They want to burn one of these acres. What they can do is go to this prescription page, click on an acre, and I don't know if you saw that, but it quickly populated some of the survey. If the layer in the map matches your survey, you can pick which fields you want to populate. It could be everything. This could be, so just think of all the different ways you might be able to use that by interacting with a web map to fill a form. In the form, you might have some custom things that you're going to add. Like in this case, we're going to say we want to do some maintenance. We are going to burn this parcel, and we're going to do it to reduce cool season grasses. One of the things that I had preset in here is that parcel is burned on the 4th year automatically, and so it's there. When you hit submit, it's going to send that data over to a different web map, the dashboard page, and it's going to be right there ready to go. So all of these were populated by using the Survey 123. And I just think it's a great way to kind of have a web map for prescription, a web map for a dashboard, all using the same layers, but maybe symbolized differently. And then you can kind of connect different surveys. If you use the filters, it'll show you just the parcels that we want to burn. The idea was to give them kind of like a calendar view. They pull this up and maybe they pick a date range eventually, and it'll say, this is what you have to do this month. So before I lose breath, I'm going to turn it over to Leah real quick, and she can show you another really cool thing that she was part of.
All righty. Give me 1 second. There we go. Okay, so this is not related to Tennessee State Parks, but I have a good friend down at the Coosa River Keeper in Alabama that I helped him build out this experience. So as you can see, they have embedded this experience page into their actual website, which is kind of awesome. So you don't have to deal with a different URL or formatting it to look like it actually is your unique website. And it actually does function within the website. It doesn't open a new page, which is also awesome. One feature that they wanted to use was a splash screen, which is just this little pop-up that everyone sees when they first open this map. You do have to click I agree and understand. So that's just like a liability thing for them, which is helpful if you want to pass along any messages to your audience. So the Coosa River Keeper wanted to enable the public to participate in self-led cleanups at parks, campgrounds, boat ramps along the Coosa River. And they wanted to know when those cleanups were happening and track how much litter was being cleaned up, but also help volunteers choose where to do those cleanups based on the last time they were cleaned. So if I click OK, it's going to open up. You'll see all of the possible cleanup sites on the Coosa River, and you'll see that they all have a clean status. Right now, they're all red because they just launched this. So all their sites need cleaning right now. But if we do zoom in a little bit, you'll see this one's green, which means it's clean. So we don't need to go there to pick up trash. But say we want to go here, you can click on this. It's going to give you information about where to go, what's available at that cleanup site. And so then once they go there and they clean up, we ask them to do this survey. So what's really cool is that this survey asks them where they cleaned up, what day they cleaned up, how many pounds of trash, how many hours did they volunteer. The Coosa River Keeper uses that data to kind of track trends with litter, and also uses the data to apply for grants and track volunteer hours. What's awesome about this survey is that the date that they cleaned up changes the color of these icons. So if I submit a survey that says I cleaned this site today, that icon will turn green. And then in 3 months, the icon automatically knows to turn yellow because it's been 3 months since I cleaned it last. And then after 6 months, it'll turn red. And over that, it'll stay red. So it's kind of a cool linked survey experience situation that helps volunteers find the sites that actually need their help. All right, let's go to another one. This is the Cumberland Trail Explorer. This is kind of a selfish project of mine. I love the Cumberland Trail. And it's almost finished. So we are exploring fun ways to promote the trail to the public and also assist people with trip and backpack planning. I know I use this a lot personally. So this is an experience page. It's just one page, but we do have the feature of bookmarks over here. This is a bookmark. You'll see why in a bit. This is a link out to more descriptive trail details. And then if I click the arrow, you'll see it's very similar to a story map if you've used those before. But as I go to each segment of the Cumberland Trail, it's going to give me information and also moves my map around. All right, so say I want to plan a trip at North Chickamauga Creek section. This is an awesome widget. It's called the elevation profile. You'll just click on this, select line. You can hover over the Cumberland Trail. It's going to select that trail and it's going to give me an elevation profile. Just like that. If I hover over this elevation profile, you'll see the little dot moving down the trail. Say I want to go the other way, I can just switch that direction and now I'm going the other way. And then it also gives you metrics, so like elevation gain, total slope, that kind of thing that you might want to know before you head out on the trail. It also gives you the opportunity to add trails together. So say I wanted to do 2 segments in one, this yellow trail I can click on, and now it will calculate those statistics and elevation profiles for that entire section that I have highlighted in pink.
Leah, how does it know which sections can be connected or you can do the elevation profile for? Is it showing you that?
Yeah, so it doesn't show you on this map, but I can show you in the designer how you limit that. So let's go into the designer. This right here is the elevation profile, and you'll see I've put it right here. Over here, you're gonna select your map and you do customize settings. And if I do advanced layer settings, you'll see that I have selected all of the layers in my map that I want people to click on in order for the elevation profile to be calculated. So if you have a ton of trails in your system, but you only want to, or a ton of line features that you have roads or boundaries, and you don't want elevation profiles on those, you can limit it to only trails. And so the public won't get confused. I think that's all for this one.
Awesome. This is one of my favorite ones. It just looks beautiful. It looks really fun. Hopefully we'll get to do something like this. In the end, someday we want to be able to have like an interactive trail explorer for all of Tennessee state parks. That might be like a 5 to 10 year goal, but I feel like Experience Builder may be one of the best ways to accomplish that. It's got having the elevation tool that just calculates that on the fly is really awesome. That's just a drag and drop widget compared to having to run elevation models, and it's just based off of Esri's terrain digital elevation data. So it might not be like, I don't know if you might want to use it for utilities and stuff accuracy wise, but it's really great for like recreation planning. All right, I'll take over from there. All right, I know you guys have seen a lot of experiences so far. We got 2 more to show you. So this is one that I'm in the process of working on. Basically, we have a Survey 123 form. It's gotten like 27,000 entries about every education program that our rangers put on. I tried making it in dashboards, but multiple select just didn't work well. There wasn't great ways to put everything in one place. Stuff got crowded. My filters weren't working great. So I decided to start building it custom from here. You know how I talked earlier about, do you really want to have a filter on every single one of your pages? This was a way I'm trying to hack to get around that. So up top, these are just buttons that link out to external content. And these are not pages, but these are 4 sections within a page: details, an export table, and charts. I'm staying on the same page. The URL isn't changing that much, except for the different section views. But what I can do is if I put on a filter, let's say I select a park, it will adjust everything on the fly right there. You can set your filters to be automatically turned on like you can with dashboards, or some of them that you want to have them make sure they toggle them on themselves. So having 2 separate filters here, one I can look for on-site programs versus off-site, which ones were roving versus not roving, and I can also look for a specific program coordinator. So in my Survey 123, this was a select 1 question. And so I was able to provide a list of the 200 different rangers. These are the 5 rangers who have worked at Reelfoot Lake. And so just selecting them, I can see all the different programs that that ranger did once I turn that filter on. You might notice that, I'll say that for a second. We also have an export table. That's what I'm calling it. Really, it's just a table view. So you can set which things you want to show up from the Survey 123 form, basically your database. I wanted most of them there, but I don't have any of those calculation fields. So this is really nice. So they can hit export all, or they could even just select one that they want to export. What I think is really, really, really neat is right now there's 900 entries in this demo. But if I were to select one of them, a single entry, this table is also going to act as a filter. A lot of times it does. It might not be quite connected right now. But the charts also, you can select on different elements of those, and sometimes you can have it set up to filter down other widgets. What I really like about the export table is there's a search option. So usually I'd be searching for maybe the person's name. But what if I wanted to find out all the different bird programs and how much revenue they went in? Sometimes bird is listed as the name of the program. Sometimes it's in the notes section. Sometimes it's in the program type. If I type in bird here, now I have a list of all the ones that are bird related: backyard birds of prey, pinecone bird feeders, birding 11, aviary stuff. So it's not like this helps when your information is not all standardized. But what's cool is that filtered down the details. I didn't have to set a specific filter that looks for a keyword in each one of those fields. I was able to do it just in the table, and that filtered it down just to 71 people. I could also look for a specific person in here instead of using my presenter field. And I'd see the 4 programs that I've been related to. This isn't interesting for us because we have a program coordinator and a secondary program, the secondary presenter, and that's like a string with a multiple select. So that's how we get around those. You'll notice on the first page that my average attendees and stuff is not working out so well for me. And so, scheduled program attendees. So what is that thing? So if I was going to edit these are just a text box, which sounds kind of crazy. But a text box you can make data centric. And so in this example, I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see this. You can create dynamic content. So that means if there's filters, maybe there's a map. If you click the map, it could update this stuff. So what I have up top is attendee sum. That's something that I typed out. And then this part is just a, let's see, if I wanted to add some more dynamic content, you click here and I can add a field there. So maybe I wanted to do a statistic, which is the average number or the count of the sum of total or number of grants. I could do that there, and you'll see 347 shows up there. If I were to go into live view and turn that off, not exactly sure what's going to happen between these different things, but yeah, basically you're creating this dynamic content when you work within text boxes, which I think is just super cool. So when you talk about building a dashboard, that's the idea. And with this, and unlike dashboards, you could format every element with different font sizes, colors, and things. You can make these boxes have edges around them or not. I'm still trying to play with this myself. How do I want to organize these? Do I make it just clean across like this? Do I put each thing in a different box? So again, there's more settings than you could ever imagine. All right, last one, because I know we're running close on time. I'll show you a really fun site. Whoa, did you just see that? Things are spinning in here out of control. You can also add animations to any of the widgets that you put on here. Why? I don't know. Maybe you do. Maybe you're doing a kids program like this one. This is at the visitor center, and if they open this up, it's a recreation viewer to figure out where you can go kayaking on the Duck River. What we did here is I made a bunch of, we have a map. On that map, we did bookmarks. So unlike Leah's where it's on the side, I made these different bookmarks that are different state parks along the Duck River. And you can set how far zoomed in and out these are, just like Leah did on the Cumberland Trail. It's kind of tricky because on the left, I have a list widget. If I click on those, it will also zoom and pan. Playing with this most recently, I realized I think I only want to have it pan versus just zoom. If I do zoom, it's going all the way in as far as you can. So if you're on a phone, that's a lot of pinching and scrolling that you have to do. Same with at the visitor center when they're playing with the touch screen. So I think I'm going to change that setting to just be pan. I also set it up so that it will show the photo. Basically, I made a layer, a web layer, enabled photos, and put an attachment photo for each of these access points. And when the photo here, when you first load this page, there's nothing there. But when you interact with one of the list widgets, or if you were to click on a specific boat launch, it's going to pull up that information. It's great too. It's just like any other kind of web map. I've got live services of weather that's coming in here. You can have layers that you turn on and off. So that's really nice. Like maybe they don't need to see tornado warnings, but these days, good thing to have. And you have the nice legend. I like to use it for stream gauges so I can figure out the water flow going into the Duck River so I know if it's safe to paddle. But let's see what that looks like on the back end. One last thing. So this is just a text box again. The dynamic content I have here is the river mile number. Is this a back in or carry in only option? What river mile and the name of the feature. And then the photo is I'm using my river access points layer. I'm using an attachment and the setting is auto-populated. So those are just some fun, easy things right there. So I know we covered a lot, so I'm going to leave this on the screen to remind you guys, and we're open to questions. We can stay a little bit over if you guys need to, but thanks for joining us today. Leah, thank you for showing all of these and building these awesome experiences. We're not that experienced, but you can do a lot with Experience Builder. I was working on that line all night, so thank you guys.
Thank you, guys. So basically, we're going to open up to Q&A, so you can unmute yourself. You can put your question in the chat. So we have a question in the chat from Gerald Beta. Is it possible to render video following the action on the map?
That I haven't tried that before. I don't know much. I haven't really done videos in attachments, but that's where I would be heading if I was thinking about that. Is first, can you put a video in an attachment? And then if it would play.
Right, we have another question. What is the function of live view?
So live view, it lets you interact with the stuff ahead of time. So if I'm not in live view right now, if I click on an element, I start editing it right away. I can't scroll through this list widget right now. I can only edit the features. If I go to live view, I can scroll through each of these. It's not much different than play, but if you hit play, you have to save your project right then. So if you've done edits that you are not sure about yet, you don't have you might want to just use live view. It also lets you look at the mobile version. And I didn't hit on this, but this is the mobile version I made for the Duck River interactive map. And basically I just reordered elements. So I have text. I don't have as much text. I used a different text box at the top, put a web map. I stacked the photo on top of the web map because you don't always need the entire map to get the job done. And then I put the list set underneath. So that was a cool way that I actually did start using the mobile view for this. And yes, you can resize content differently for each view. There's some limits, but yeah, the maps and stuff, you don't have to have it overflow. I did not do it for this, for the iPad version. So I think depending what size it's closer to, it's gonna default towards that one. So the iPad is closer to a desktop screen, so it's trying to smush in everything from the desktop style. If I do want to work on this and edit it, I think I might have to unlock it. Yeah, you want to enable it to start playing with it. And I mean, I could do it right now. I might want to have the map be smaller, have the picture go on top, and you can play with it just like that. And now I have the iPad version pretty much ready to go. I didn't. I'm not going to keep this one, so I'm not going to hit save. But if you are doing edits, you can press play, view it on your website all you want. But when you hit publish, just like you do on Hub and other pages, that's when it actually becomes live. So that this PPI one, I have not published it for a couple of weeks. So my partners have not been able to see the updates yet. When you hit preview, it does ask you if you want to save it first. It always does ask you.
Do we have any more questions? Feel free to unmute yourself or place your question in the chat. You guys are able to unmute yourselves, right? I don't remember if I put it in the settings that you can't, so
We can.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much for this presentation. This is Nor with the Office of Kentucky Nature Preserves, and this was amazing. Thanks for showing us what to do and what not to do, because yeah, Experience Builder is very overwhelming and I'm just now like trying to scratch the surface.
That's great. I'm psyched to have you. There's definitely lots of videos. Whenever you have a question, just hop on YouTube for a specific thing. Like if I'm looking at photo attachments, there's usually someone who's done it, and the chats are pretty good. But unlike a lot of the older stuff, there's not as much like community documentation on how to do things, because everything is like really specific to your workflow. So there might not be an answer there. You have to do some sleuthing to figure it out. But I'm sure they're going to be coming out with a lot more videos on what you can do. And some of them are going to be industry specific, but everything we're doing is just putting an idea onto one website. That's kind of how we approach it. Gerald, are you asking if you can put a story map into experience or put experiences into story maps? So far, I think we played with putting story maps into experience. So you could do the headers, or you could have like 3 pages of story maps using Experience Builder. And that's really nice to have. So you could just click through the different pages, and each page would be a different story map.
Yep, you'll just use that embed widget. You can put any URL in there.
All right, we've got 3 minutes left. Any more questions?
So for our organization, I think word is starting to trickle out that we can build websites now. We're not website builders, but everyone's starting to see the Go Green project and the monthly one and asking us, oh, could we build a site that looks like that? And I think Leah's example with the Go Green, where you have these PDFs and stuff, is great. It's not like a document storage solution. It's just a really great way to put direct related content. She was able to do custom icons for all sorts of things, and just be able to link stuff back and forth, keep those cycles and circles of information coming together without having to bookmark all sorts of URLs.
Hey, this is Nor again. When you first built an experience, what was your approach to testing it? Did you test it with a small group first to see like if it was visually accessible, or what was your approach to do that?
I think that's going to be part of our approach going forward. For now, we've kind of just worked with our partners. So it's like they use it on their computer, they're good to go, they're in our office, they have the same kind of Wi-Fi and Microsoft products as we do. Since we launched the historical cemetery viewer last night, I've seen all sorts of comments and emails coming in that's like, my iPad browser doesn't support this. Will I not be able to use that? And I don't know the answer quite yet. That's something I definitely should have thought of. I don't want to like strike fear and say it doesn't work on iPads right now. I just hadn't even tested that first, because we don't have that, and nor would our park managers be accessing the stuff like that. So do think about who your users are going to be and what tech, and do the research on if there's any limitations, because I didn't know that before we launched it.
That's awesome. And also, I'm not a web developer, and I'm wondering, what resource did you heavily rely on to think about, where information is organized? For example, where to put tabs, where to put buttons, the basics of good web design. Where did you rely? What resource did you rely on for that?
Yeah, I would recommend starting with Experience Builder's templates. Those kind of give you like inspiration, and then once you start adding in your content, you kind of get a better idea of where things should stay.
Thank you.
That's a great point. Like if you're going to build it from scratch the first time, starting with the templates, you can delete stuff that you don't want from there at any point. So you're not stuck with that template just because you wanted to go there. I might have made a template that was sort of like a web app editor, but I didn't need all the junk or the dashboards. If you start blank, you're in for a rocky road of figuring out, should I have these scale by percentage or pixel? It's really tricky. How should I have my buttons set up for multi-page ones? It can get really tricky. I think I haven't even done it, but I think you can explore in Living Atlas too, different options for templates. And then like when Leah and I start a new project, all we do is like a lot of times it's goofy, but we go like onto PowerPoint or Word and we just start drawing, putting like screenshots of stuff in different places. Say we want the buttons there. What will the second page look like? But some of it's just you do it from scratch. But having that outline of what your partners want and like what their vision is, and just drawing it like on a hand sketch and then trying to replicate that seems to work. But we're not web developers. We're just playing with what we've got.
All right, well, it is 3:02. So if anybody has any more questions, feel free to email magicmemphis@gmail.com and we can get those over to Andrew and Leah. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you giving this presentation. It was fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks for having us. We'll
Yes.
see you
Thanks,
guys
y'all.
at the conference. All right, see y'all. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.